I want to walk you through the vote fraud allegations for the 2020 election and tell you I am on record. Given the anger from people who seem to think I'm saying vote fraud doesn't matter, I haven't said that. I actually think vote fraud matters. And I think that you need to investigate vote fraud. We need vote fraud investigated. There should be, after every election, a bipartisan commission set up to examine allegations of vote fraud. I was an elections lawyer for a number of years. Vote fraud happens in every election, and we should root it out. I have seen vote fraud happen. There was this famous case back in the 90s. The Republicans were on the verge of shaking up some elections in the Fulton County area. The Fulton County Commission was at play, and all of a sudden, you saw Republicans following the ballots from a precinct to the Board of Elections, and a garbage truck pulls out and blocks the path. Well, when the Republican officials show up at the Board of Elections, the car carrying the ballots wasn't there yet, even though they had a head start. And then they ultimately showed up, and there were suspicions about the ballots. None of it could ever be proven, but there were suspicions about the ballots. I have seen in Middle Georgia walk-around money. This is actually very common in certain communities, particularly in minority communities. People go around with walk-around money, driving people to the polls, paying them money, ensuring that they vote for people. This happens in every election. These sorts of things happen. They should be rooted out. They should be stamped out. They should be deterred. They should be punished. People should go to jail. Now, there is a difference between investigating vote fraud and throwing out an election based on vote fraud. And you need to understand the difference between the two. Vote fraud happens. In Philadelphia, I assure you there's vote fraud. Philadelphia is notorious for vote fraud. The question, however, is, was it enough to call into doubt the election? And the simple, painful truth is that it rarely is. Let's use Michigan as an example. In Michigan, Joe Biden leads Donald Trump by 146,137 votes. Right now, this morning, 146,137 votes. Let's say Republicans find 50,000 cases of vote fraud in Michigan. 50,000 cases where they can confirm that those ballots should not have been cast. Well, if you throw out those 50,000, Joe Biden is still ahead by 96,137 votes. So it's not vote fraud sufficient to cast out on the election because you only found 50,000. But wait, there's more. I'm trying to show you how daunting it is to discredit an election based on vote fraud. We all know vote fraud happens. Vote fraud should be investigated. People should be prosecuted. In North Carolina, you'll recall, they had a do-over congressional election because a Republican there committed vote fraud. This is a bipartisan thing. Both sides do it. But in Michigan, 37,706 people did not vote in the presidential election. So what you have to do to prove vote fraud to an extent necessary to throw out the election is you've got to find 146,137 votes thus far. That's the margin between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. You got to discredit those specifically, but you're not allowed to ask anyone how they voted. The secret ballot is sacrosanct in this country. You're not allowed to get someone on stand and say, who did you vote for? You're not allowed to do that. And there are 37,706 people who didn't vote in the election. So really what you got to do is you got to throw out 183,843 ballots. That's the margin between Trump and Biden plus the number of people who didn't vote in that race. That's what you've actually got to prove, because you can't prove that, well, all of those ballots that we cast out had people who voted in that election, because we know 37,706 of them didn't vote. So you can't just throw out 146,000. You got to throw out 183,000. Now, that's just Michigan. See, there's this meme circulating on the internet now that what's going to happen is this is going to go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is going to say, oh, thanks to overwhelming voter fraud, this election can't be certified. Therefore, it needs to go to the House of Representatives. Each state gets one vote. There are 26 states that have Republican majorities. Therefore, Donald Trump's going to get elected. That's not how this works. The people who are peddling that are idiots. Don't believe the people who are circulating that on the internet. There are words for them, dumb, and then we'll use but. How about that? Don't believe anyone peddling that nonsense on the internet. And I'm seeing friends of mine share it on the internet. I was like, I didn't realize you were an idiot.